The Reckoning documentary is not just about Sean Combs. It is not even just about power, abuse, and the fall of a celebrity. The Reckoning is almost more like an autopsy report for not just Sean Combs and his career, but for the culture that has raised him. The very first episode of The Reckoning starts talking about Sean Combs and his childhood and his relationship with his mother, his relationship with the culture, his relationship with the people and the environment in which he was raised. And likely without intention, the documentary starts to show us the environment that he was raised in started to build not just Sean Combs as a monster, but has built so many monstrous men just like him. The documentary does not just show Sean Combs as the talentless abuser that he was, but it also holds a mirror to our social structures and a society that creates men like him, that protects men like him, that celebrates men like him, but then how we all act shocked and innocent when the monster comes out of our own closet. Guys, if you have not already, go ahead, subscribe to my channel, and let's get into my notes on how monsters are raised in The Reckoning. I think that it's time to take a deep dive and a look into Sean Combs' mom, Janice Combs. One of the things that we always credit white women for is raising our oppressors. We have to start looking at some Black mothers who uphold patriarchal ideals as single moms in their households. One of the people interviewed in episode 1 made the comment that the biggest difference between him and Combs was that he had a father in the house who taught him right from wrong, implying that his mom did not bother teaching him right from wrong. In fact, as the story unfolded, and we've heard the rumors about Sean Combs and his mother and their very particular relationship, they started supporting the idea that maybe Sean was exposed to freak off type parties when he was young. And while they didn't say that directly, there were lots of implications that Janice Combs was very involved in pimp hoe type culture, and that could have been an influence on Sean Combs inside the home. Janice Combs didn't raise Sean Combs to be a monster simply because she was a single mom or a Black mother or a hustler in some ways. Janice Combs raised P.Diddy, Sean Combs, in the reflection of society that teaches domination as manhood. And that was reinforced not only in his home life, but he went to Catholic school as well. He was raised watching the duality between patriarchal norms in the hood and patriarchal expectations in Christianity. If it's true that Sean Combs grew up watching his mother and her associates do freak off type parties, and then coupling that with religious indoctrination where patriarchy tells men that they are to be obeyed, and that religion starts to teach us controlling the flesh and the shame of desire. And then he has a street culture which glorifies violence, conquest, but also creates shame around women who are involved in pimp hoe type culture through domination. Every aspect of what he was being exposed to proved a few things, mostly that violence and domination were the way to be a man. And even if the rumors about the closeness or inappropriate relationship that Janice may have been having with Puff Daddy as a child weren't true, she already was exposing him to behaviors that would have left similar impressions on a young child growing up. She didn't have to abuse him sexually for him to be sexually abused by the environment that he was being exposed to. There's this very interesting irony in a lot of Black communities. There is this thing where people would put, I don't know if it's still the same anymore, but people would put their children in religious schools, much like Sean Sean P.Diddy Combs, was put in a Catholic school by his mom in the effort to give them a good education, yes, but it also was supposed to be that structure that they needed, that discipline that they knew they didn't necessarily know how to give them, and they didn't want them to be left to be raised particularly by street culture, by hood philosophy. But in reality, some of these doctrinations in religion because of patriarchy aren't that different than street culture philosophy. In regards to women, a few things are very similar in patriarchal street culture as well as in patriarchal religions. Men are to be obeyed, men are to be dominant, men are meant to be the decision makers, the ones who control every aspect of life around them. And women are meant to be submissive. And sexually open or free women are shamed on both sides. They're shameful and they are not worthy of respect. And him having that double down makes it seem completely right. Not to mention, Janice, as a single mother, also ruled her house in a very patriarchal ideology. She used violence as discipline and violence as a way to control him. She did what a lot of Black moms have done to their boys when they seem too soft, a little queer. They shame them too. A lot of his deviant behavior is behind him hiding his sexual preferences. They implied in the documentary that Janice was trying to beat some of the queer out of Sean Puffy Combs as a child, saying that she wasn't going to raise no queer children. Most people in the Black community act as though queerness is something that happens to men when they can't get women. Not that that is a natural aspect to their lives. His knowledge of street culture actually helped him hide. What we know about men who commit harm, they split themselves. Anybody who has been in a narcissistic or abusive relationship will tell you that the man that they see in their house is not the same that everyone knows everywhere else. He is not at all the charming, interesting, funny person that outward people might see inside the home. I bet that if we could track his abuses associated with the different aliases that he was going through at the time, we could learn even more about how these structures, how these masks are created, maintained, and who he was at different periods in time. I mean, is Puff Daddy the one who is the ladies' man that he thinks that he is? Is P.Diddy the mogul, the, man about town, the industry leader? Maybe Diddy is the diddler. He is the one who's out here, sexually assaulting people, drugging people. And maybe Puff Daddy is the power top that he probably thinks he is when he's drugging men to sexually assault them. And then, we have Sean Combs, who's just the businessman and creates the image that he is a stable human being. That's the genius of having street culture as part of your repertoire, because you can hide your masks within how the streets do things. Everyone has an alias. Everyone has a side chick. Everybody knows certain rules apply when a man is doing man shit, and you just accept it. And that is the attitude that he moved with in these abusive circles, because he also knew that he was supplying so much to the people around him that they would isolate and protect him. That's how the corporate structure of hip hop mirrors colonialism. That's how corporations work and mirror colonialism, right? There are the hierarchies within every corporate structure that protects the ultimate goal of that structure, which is more often exploitative. Hip hop began as something that was about resistance, self-expression, cultural reclamation. But when it started to become an industry, everything changed. It became about breaking women, humiliating women, exploiting artists. It was making pain into profit and celebrating dominance and street culture, and revolved around male domination. And it started rewarding abuse with power. Sean Combs obviously did not create the system, but he was there to help lay the foundations of what this system was becoming. He wanted to be the godfather, and he was reflecting how he was going to come to power in the same way patriarchy has taught men for a millennia to come to power. Put down anyone who stands in your way or threatens your power. The implications that he has around Pac's death, around Biggie's death, around the other potential assaults and alleged murder associations, it's not unlike any situation where men feel threatened and their power is in question and they have to prove to the people around them to maintain fear what will be done to them. Women have whispered for decades about what was happening in the industry. There were plenty of stories and potential stories that people didn't want to believe. We still listen to other men right now talking about, well, what about the white man? Why they got to bring the black man down? Everyone should go down. Everyone. And black men should know that they're going to go down first. So that's just the rules, right? That's the rules that society has created. But they're still just mad that they're not getting to rape and plumage the same way that white men get. That's what they keep fighting for, that those equal rights. When we talk about the culture, that's what they believe, is that he got the right to do those things. He's powerful, he has the money, he's paid for it. Anyone who wants to run in his circle has to follow the rules that he creates. Fuck them and their right to life. We even saw that in some of the responses from the male juror. Not only does he see the idea that women who are in these circles, who are loving, powerful men and benefiting somehow financially from it, if they stay there, they can't possibly be scared because they get to dress pretty and go on fancy trips. That's why they stay. That's what these men believe over and over again, that women would put their lives and well-being for a lifestyle. That's what men believe over and over again, that a woman will stay as long as you maintain a lifestyle for her and you have a little money. She doesn't have the right to anything else. If you want to beat her, treat her bad, have other people have sex with her, drug her, whatever. If she knows what's going on and she stays, she can't be scared. She can't be trapped. All of those things are impossible to them because they think that men have the right and women understand that right, more importantly, to do whatever it is they want to do when they want to do it. One of the most striking parts of the documentary was the presence of his female gatekeeper, who isn't much in the documentary. You don't see her that often, but she was one of the primary shields protecting him from his consequences. And that's not an accident. And it's more than just empire, it's history. There have been white women throughout history and currently who partner with men, abusive men, in order to be able to carry out their own sadistic ideologies around patriarchy for women. It is not an accident that in the United States, Black men have the most issues with cops and Black women have the most issues with nurses, white nurses. The percentage of cops married to nurses is extremely high in the United States. It's like you start to understand why those two professions, the people in those professions might find common ground and love because they have similar sadistic ideologies. And This woman partnering with Puff Daddy is no different than a nurse who's married to a cop so that she finds a synergy with somebody who is like-minded. And while that exists, when you have a white woman with a black man, this often makes him look cleaner somehow. That she's at this top position in his circle, in his orbit. There can't be women being hurt if a woman is there. There can't be women being abused because there's a woman there. One of the guys said that he went to her after he started to realize that he was being sexually assaulted, and she was just like, she didn't care. She didn't give a damn. So she was very well aware of what was happening to people in Diddy's circle, and she was protecting him. She was gatekeeping. It's just another example of how white femininity is used as a camouflage for male brutality. And Diddy needed that camouflage in his life. It was essential for him. Diddy moved in this world just like we always say we wish we could, with the confidence of a mediocre white man. Diddy did not have talent. He was not able to rap. He was not a musician. He was able to manipulate the view of him by the talent and the beauty of people's talent that he kept around him. And he stole what he could from them to make himself look even better, even bigger. He didn't write anything. He didn't know how to sing. And somehow he was able to fool everybody because his success made him look like he must have talent. He must be doing all of the things that he's pretending to do, that he's stealing from other people. He was able to do that because patriarchy gives us the impression that every man who gets there has deserved to be there. It doesn't matter if we stepped on along the way. So he can create himself into a charming bad boy and be a mogul, somehow also a sex symbol and an entrepreneur, and then also a legend of the street, and be exalted as though he is a king. He compared himself to Jesus Christ, the ultimate description of how so many men want to see themselves. They want to see themselves this way, and if they cannot see themselves this way, then everybody around them suffers. We almost always shrug our shoulders when we hear stories of abuse by powerful men. We almost always look the other way, assume the worst. She just wants the money. He couldn't possibly, because he has access to any woman that he wants. There will be women willing to do whatever he wants if he throws money at it. We can't imagine that he would prefer a woman who doesn't, even though there's so many men that exact same sentiment around normal, everyday women in general. This documentary about Sean Combs is actually something that we should look deeper at, the mirror that it holds up to society, that patriarchy and religion, street culture, celebrity worship, corporate colonization and exploitation, misogynoir, and just the overall hunger for domination in our culture, in our society at large, needs to examine, and why it's the downfall of so many aspects of the male gender. How does a society keep creating monsters? How do we as mothers keep creating men who abuse women? How is it that we keep celebrating and protecting men? Janice Combs came out with a statement about the abuse allegations in The Reckoning, and instead of acknowledging the pain and the hurt that her son has caused so many people, she wanted to protect her image. There were so many other disturbing things in that documentary that she could have addressed, but her belief is obvious that her son had the right to do the things that he did. So many moms continue to miss the fact that they need to stop trying to protect their sons. because they think that it's a reflection on them. And maybe sometimes it is, because if we cannot stop raising our boys with patriarchal ideologies and patriarchal domination ideas, we're not doing anything more than continuing to raise the same monsters that everybody in the world is trying to avoid. Don't dismantle the conditions if we cannot challenge the ideologies, if we can't hold the mirror to ourselves as mothers, as fathers, as people in this world who want change and to stop abuse, then we don't really want anything to be different. The empire will keep making monstrous kings for us all to marvel at if we don't stop raising monstrous boys. Guys, my name is G. If you have not already, go ahead, subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to having this discussion with you in the comments. So ciao, ciao for now.